This is a special health presentation from the Bethesda Wellness Ministry of Canaan Baptist Church of Christ, Diabetes in Us, presented by Woman of the Year, Rita Williams, with special guest Francisco Diaz, a diabetes specialist.
Good morning, Canaan family and visitors. My name is Rita Williams. I am Woman of the Year as well as a member of the Bethesda Ministry. Today I'm here to introduce Mr. Francisco Diaz, who is a nurse practitioner and a diabetic educator. He will be discussing today and giving a small presentation on type 2 diabetes. So with no further ado, I would like to turn this over to Mr. Francisco Diaz.
Thank you.
You're
For the
welcome.
introduction. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Francisco Diaz. I am a diabetes care and education specialist, and I'm here to present the topic of diabetes. The title of my presentation is Diabetes and Us, because it's not just the person who has diabetes, everybody around that particular person is affected by the condition. Diabetes is a major condition in the United States. We have 37 million of individuals who have diabetes. And of those, that essentially means 1 in every 10 people that you meet will have diabetes. And 1 in 5 do not know that they have it. So can you imagine the amount of individuals that those must be? For African American, this is a particularly serious condition because diabetes represents the 23% of the causes of death. However, the other causes of death, like high blood pressure and strokes, are also very closely related to diabetes. Therefore, this gives the condition of diabetes a significant importance to our community. And what is diabetes anyway? Well, diabetes is related to something that we call glucose. For us, glucose is a source of energy. That's why if you ever had a low sugar, you would know that the first sign is weakness. And glucose happens to be a type of sugar that is in the blood. And as you can see in the screen, you see the 3 droplets of blood sugar. Sugar comes from 2 sources. One source is our liver that releases a little bit of glucose or sugar through the blood. And the other source of glucose is anything that we eat that is made of carbohydrates, and regardless of the taste. So that is pasta, rice, potatoes, but also things that we do not think they have sugar, like lemons, vinegar. Those things have sugar, even though they taste sour. Why? Because they are made of carbohydrates. After digestion, glucose or the sugar travels all over our body in the blood. However, in order for the sugar to go inside the cells where it's going to be utilized, it needs the presence of insulin. As you see in the picture, insulin looks like a key because insulin allows the cells to open up and allow the passages of the glucose from the blood to inside the cells. In other words, insulin opens the doors of the cells to make possible that the blood gets clear of sugar. That's why when we have diabetes, our sugar goes high and we still feel weak and we still feel hungry even though we eat. One of the first manifestations of diabetes oftentimes is high sugar or hyperglycemia. And hyperglycemia manifests with increased thirst, increased urination, dry mouth, headaches, blurry vision because of the increased thirst and increased drinking of water comes frequent urination and still weakness, even though you might be able to eat. Why? Because the sugar or the energy is not being processed by the cells. Another aspect of diabetes is the low sugar that comes when diabetes is being treated. And low sugar or hypoglycemia manifest by cold sweats, fatigue, irritability, and sleepiness. As you can see, is in a sense a manifestation of low energy because of the low volumes of sugar in our bloodstream. Sugar for us means energy. There are two types of diabetes, diabetes type 1 and diabetes type 2, and this is based upon the problems pertaining to the insulin. If you remember a little while ago that I mentioned that insulin allows the passages of the glucose from the blood to inside the cells. That's why there are two types of diabetes according to the insulin. The type 1, it is the rarest form of diabetes. Approximately of 100 people with diabetes, only 10 may have this type of diabetes. It means that the person do not produce insulin at all, and they will need to be treated only with insulin. The other type of diabetes, the most common type of diabetes, 95% of the cases of diabetes, that is in a group of 100 persons with diabetes, 95 of them will have this type of diabetes. It means that the individual do produce insulin. However, their body is resistant to the insulin that they do produce. And they have other problems that are related to the metabolism of glucose that the persons with diabetes type 1 do not have. Again, the diabetes type 2 is when the individual does have insulin, however, their body is resistant to the insulin that you produce. It's like when you have a key to a door, but the door got jammed. So you have a key to go inside this door, but the door, you cannot put the key through the lock. Therefore, you stay outside. So that happens to the sugar in the individuals with diabetes type 2. They eat something that increases their glucose level or the sugar levels. Their pancreas releases insulin. However, this insulin, it's not effective. And so the sugar stay outside of the cells and the person feels weak. And because of the sugar stays in the blood, they will feel thirsty and they will feel that they have to drink a lot of water and they will urinate a lot. And what are the risk factors for diabetes? And this is the us part of it as well. To develop diabetes type 2, it is necessary to be overweight or obese, have a family history of diabetes. That is, whether my parents have diabetes or sisters and brothers or uncles have diabetes. The other condition that leads to diabetes is being inactive. That is, being a couch potato. When you are a couch potato, when you spend a lot of time sitting, your muscles are not burning glucose without the presence of insulin. Your muscle, if you move them, they can burn glucose without the need for insulin. And finally, the other risk factor for diabetes type 2 is age. The older we are, the most likely we could become a diabetic type 2. Why? Because as we grow older, we lose muscle mass and we gain fat tissue in our bodies. And we all know that from day by day living, that you see the older we get, it's more difficult to fitting into our clothes. So those are the 4 major risk factors for diabetes, and all of us are in this boat. So being overweight, having a family history, being inactive, and finally getting older above the age of 45. One of the problems with diabetes is that their most significant things comes late. Why? Because the sugar that travels in the blood sticks to the cells in our body, especially inside the veins and arteries that run through our bodies, and affects the eyes causing blindness, the kidneys causing kidney failure, leading to dialysis, affecting the arteries of the heart, causing coronary artery disease, leading to heart attacks. It can also affect the circulation of the toes, of the feet. And because sugar sticks to our immune cells, it affects our healing processes and makes us prone to infection. Another thing that high sugar causes is strokes. And that's why Luther Vandross died of stroke, because he had diabetes. Another impact of diabetes is the cost. It's a very costly disease. Our government spent around $327 billion in total medical care. Another sneaky consequence of diabetes for the men in the audience is that it causes impotence. So it behooves you to become active and to have a healthier lifestyle, because it can lead to that. And what can you do to prevent and to treat diabetes? There are several things. The first one is to eat healthy. The second is to be more active. That is, you can jog, you can walk. The other thing you can do is to lose weight. Finally, once you have diabetes, you need help from a professional healthcare provider and maintain healthier eating habits and to stay active. So one of the questions that I get asked often is, once we are told that you have diabetes, is what can I eat? The person with diabetes can potentially eat everything. However, with the provision, that is the condition of limiting the things that are made of carbohydrates. As you can see on your screen, you see a 9-inch plate divided in 3. And one portion has non-starchy vegetables. That is vegetables that do not have starch. Why? Because starch is a form of carbohydrates, and therefore it will become sugar. The other quarter of the plate is carbohydrates, and another quarter is proteins, and the proteins are meats, eggs, and things like peanut butter. And peanut butter, I should say, it is a very healthy meal because it comes from a plant. It's plant-based and it's a healthy fat, and it's a very healthy source of protein, and you can add it to almost anything. And as at the left of the screen, you see a glass of water. And water for the diabetes person is very important because water will maintain your blood hydrated and flowing. Also, when we are thirsty, means that our blood is dense and what it needs is water. And sometimes what we do is take juice, and juice, however, makes our blood thicker. And if you have diabetes, will increase your sugar, which will lead to further thirst and more need for water. The other thing that people with diabetes complain is that they don't like to exercise. However, diabetes is a benign disease. You don't have to become a weekend warrior. You don't have to become an athlete from nothing. Anything that leads to movement is acceptable. So whether it's walking, jogging, dancing, all those are forms of exercises. Walking upstairs, and things like that. And finally, wanted to bring someone that many of you may know, and who has diabetes, and that person is Patti Labelle. Patti Labelle, about 25 years ago, collapsed during a performance as a consequence of being hyperglycemic. Then she found out that she had diabetes type 2. And since then, she had left alive, reflecting on her decision to live a better life. And she says, I have made a conscious choice to prioritize my health and change my way of living. I turned my love of cooking to overhaul my diet. It meant that I had to put down the butter and pick up the vegetable steamer. So as you can see, diabetes affects us all, whether celebrities, whether common people, but it takes our desire to live a better life to make some changes, and these changes can be done by our hands. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Diaz. But I just have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Me, myself, is pre-diabetic, and there's a lot of people who's pre-diabetic out there. Pre-diabetes can be reversed, yes or no? Can you tell me some of the things I need to do to help myself lower my A1C?
Sure. So the diagnosis of diabetes is based upon a test called hemoglobin A1C. Hemoglobin A1C measures the sugar that's stuck to the red cells in the blood. And it's a number that we wanted for a normal status is below 5.6. Prediabetes is between 5.7 and 6.5. And if it's 6.6 or higher, means that you have diabetes. Prediabetes means that your sugar, that your A1C is somewhere between 5.7 and 6.5, and also that your random sugar levels at home are somewhere below 125. Yes, you can modify that, because if you change your diet, if you change and you live a more physically active life, you can change that.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that the risk of becoming diabetic is out there, it's gone. But it means that you need to do those things for good.
To kind of get it lowered.
Exactly,
to get me
to
out.
maintain.
Yeah, I don't want no more pre-diabetes. Also, I notice a lot of people always talk about diet sodas. Is diet sodas really good for people who's a diabetic? Is that a good thing for them to consume?
In an ideal world, ideally you should supplement your hydration with clear water or something like seltzer water that doesn't have color, that doesn't have more ingredients. On occasions, you can have a diet soda, but that's not a substitute for real water. If you want the taste of something more pleasant, it's preferable to have a solid fruit, as opposed to the water.
The natural juice is
right.
Wonderful. Also, like when it comes to the A1C and eye exams and things like that, how often should they have these checked with their provider?
And that is a great question, actually. So as we have, the person with diabetes live on and has intermittent higher sugars, this sugar eventually causes harm. When someone is told that you have diabetes, oftentimes the disease has been in the system for about 5 to 10 years, meaning that it has enough chances to create layers and layers of sugar in the tissue and causes harm. So that means that we need to have an eye exam every year. We need to see a dentist every year.
Interesting.
Because diabetes causes harm first in the mouth, and it's actually a source of that leads eventually to the diagnosis of diabetes. For example, you see these hot guys that they're having problems with the female because their mouth. And so they go to the dentist, and then lo and behold, they have a higher A1C. And the other important consultant is the podiatrist. If you have diabetes, you need to have a physical exam of your feet, and by a podiatrist, a specialist of the feet, because we need to detect if you are losing sensation And if you have a deformity of the feet, that could be treated. Also, that means that we ourselves as person, those who have diabetes, we need to visually inspect our feet and make sure that we don't have wounds.
Okay.
Because diabetes affects your immunity. And if you have a skin breakdown in a foot, it can lead to a serious infection.
Okay. One more thing, and then we're gonna sign on off from here. Exercise. I heard you say something about exercise. Now,
Yes.
there are some people who have a knee problem, back problem. What type of exercise should they actually get involved in? More like aqua, water sports, and things like that to lower the A1C.
Right. That's a great question too, because we are assuming that everybody can do any exercises. Individuals who already know that they have a problem, for example, herniated disc or arthritis in the knees, and they are already perhaps taking even medications or seeing an orthopedist and physical therapist, they can ask these specialties for the kind of exercises that they can perform, because chances are that there is a form of exercises that they can do. Individuals that cannot stand a long time, there are even exercises that you can do perform sitting. You can do leg raisers when you're sitting. You can do pull-ups with your arms. Those are exercises as well. So it's physical activity. As long as you can do the task, you can do
some
anything.
movement there.
It's a movement, yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for that presentation, Mr. Diaz. And God bless you all. I hope you all got a little bit out of this presentation on diabetes. Once again, please go see your provider, get that A1C checked, listen to all the good information that Mr. Diaz just presented to you all. And remember one thing, we always got to keep God in front of everything. You all have a blessed one. I love you all from the bottom of my heart. God bless each and every one of you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
For more information, contact Canaan Baptist Church of Christ in Harlem, New York at 212-866-0301 or email us at canaanbaptistclc@gmail.com.